Okay. Awesome. Can you see me now?
Yeah.
I should be here. I have two screens, so I can see the chat and everything in one screen, and then I can do it all closer and I can move my phone. So welcome. We are going to be making pot hangers today. Now, each of you should have a kit. You'll have a set of instructions in your kit as well. And so if you need to refer to that later on, that's cool as well. If you need, send some extra videos, send Joanne a link, an email, and I'll send her a link later on today. Now, in your kit, you have one short piece of rope or cord. You have three long pieces and 3 pieces that are slightly shorter. So they're 4 meters and approximately 3 meters and 4 meters in length. So you'll have 6 long pieces in total and 1 very short piece, which is about 50 centimeters long. You'll also have in there a ring like this, or a wooden ring, and also a pot. So I've got the white pot. Some of you will have a white pot. Some of you will have a green or a grey pot, just depending on the kit that you got. Okay, I just saw someone said they can't see me. What you might have to do is you can either pin me or put on speaker view in Zoom. So just have a look there. If you want, just message Deb. She might be able to give you some tips as well. So when you're working with macrame, we're going to work from the top down, and we're going to use, so all of your ropes will be on the ring like this at the moment. Now, to get them off, all you need to do is, if you pull the loop and put it over the top of the ring, all of the cords then will come out of the ring. Make sure, so I actually have 2. Make sure you are pinning the right one of me. I have my computer there that has no video, and then I have this one, if you see me waving. So make sure you pin the right one there. Okay, so we have our ring. Now I'm going to use both these rings. So this is just a wooden ring that I've got from a macrame supply. These, if you can see that, are curtain rings. See how they've got that little extra bit? We don't need this little extra bit. We're actually going to hide that. So I'm going to use this metal ring to show you how to hide that. And these you can get from Bunnings or Spotlight. Spotlight seems to be cheaper. So this is the ring I am going to use today. So we're going to hang that up here with our 6 long cords. I want you to put them through your ring so it comes out each side, like so.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Should we have got a separate ring?
There should be just the one ring.
Yeah, the one that they're all connected to at the moment.
Yes. So
okay,
so take that out.
So take them all off.
Take them all off. Yep, and start with a bare ring. Yep.
Sorry about that.
No, that's all good. All good. And then just thread them through so that they are hanging over.
Yeah. And which one are we using at the moment? The longest one?
We're doing all 6 long ones, just not the short one. So you have one really short one. So put that one aside, and all the 6 long one we're going to put just straight through the ring. Now, for those who have the metal rings with the little extra bit, that little extra bit is going to go down the bottom. Okay? And then we're going to hide it in a minute. When you put it through, I then want you to get each cord and make sure that you put it, that up the top is in the middle. So just to do that, you grab both ends and just push them through your hands, and then pull them through until, so that both tails are the same length. Okay? It's very hard to show you, but we want them the same length, okay? So you're going to do that to all 6 strings, making sure that they are through the same amount on each side.
Oops.
So you're just evening up the bottom, pulling them through your hands, and that will then even them up at the top. Now, it doesn't have to be exact, but we want it as close as you can get.
Right, Casey, you laughing at me?
Yeah.
Why?
Art.
Hey, art we're doing.
Yeah.
Craft, sweetheart.
Craft.
Craft.
Is just shabby.
She's on about going to Aldi. I don't know what she wants.
Okay. Sorry, I was just getting everyone. Okay, so once you have all of your cords folded in half, I'm just doing the last one now. Yeah, and we're going to take this little bit, if I come too close, then you can't see heaps. And then if it's too far away, you can't see anything. Excuse me. So we've got this little tail. If you have that little tail, we're going to fold that underneath our bunch of 6. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do what is called a wrap knot. I'm just going to move my camera nice and close. You can see there. So with this short little piece, now if you want, feel free to watch this. So all we've done so far is we've put all of our pieces through the ring and made sure they're all in half, so they're like all even at the bottom. Well, you have 3 long ones and 3 short ones. What we're going to do now is what's called a wrap knot. Now I'm going to show you this a couple of times, so if you want to watch the first time, and then we can do it all together. So we're going to grab our very short little piece, and we're going to place it so that the top of it is just above, just in the middle of the ring. And we're going to put our thumb, 2 seconds, how am I going to try and get this a bit closer for you? Oops. Okay, we're going to put our thumb here. And so I'm holding down all of the 6 strings that we put through and my little piece in the front. If you've got the metal ring, make sure you put that, the bit that's sticking out in underneath all of your strings here. You're going to take this little piece and make a loop. Okay, the loop's about 5-6 centimeters long, and it comes out the bottom here. And we're going to hold the 2 pieces, the top and the piece that's got on the long bit, in with our thumb. Then what we're going to do is while we're holding that with our thumb, we're going to wrap it around all of our string. And then we're going to just keep wrapping it around and moving down and down. And you wrap it around maybe 4 or 5 times, up to you, however long you want your knot to be. Make sure it's quite firm. Okay, can you see that? You got to make sure it's quite firm. And that's going to hold all of our ropes together at the top. Now, once we've gone around 5 or 6 times, you'll notice our little loop here that we created before. We're going to put our tail through that little loop, hold on to our tail, and then the bit that we had sticking out the top, we're going to pull up on that until the tail, no, I'm just going to pull it up here so you can do it nice and close. See, here's our tail. So we're going to pull up. You're going to have, you need to use a little bit of force, pull up until the knot disappears underneath the bits that you've just wrapped around. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab another color. I'm going to go grab a red, and I'm going to do it with a red, and then I'll give you some more, you can see it better. Okay, I actually found pink. Nice bright pink. Okay, so I'm just going to undo that one again. So you can do this one with me now. Okay. Okay, so what we've got. Oh, sorry, was there a question? No, I'm dead. Okay, so we've got our cord. We're going to place it there with our, so I use my left thumb to do this and use my right thumb to do most of the working. We're going to create a little loop about 5 centimeters long and hold both ends of the loop with our left thumb. And we're going to use our right hand to wrap the tail around from top to bottom. Now, as I said, you can do 5, 6 times. You can do 3 or 4, up to you. I like 5 or 6 because it gives you a nice area to hide the knot when we pull it through. So don't make it too tight, or else it'll be really difficult to pull it through. But make it sort of quite firm. Then what we're going to do, excuse me, is grab the loop that we created, put our tail through the loop, hold on to that with our left hand, and with our right hand, we're just going to pull up, and you can see the knot just disappears underneath. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to cut those two, but we'll cut them later. So that is our wrap knot. So that is the start of our pot hanger. The next thing we need to do is we then need to divide. So we have 12 strands here now, and we need to divide that into groups of 4. So we're going to have 3 groups of 4 strands. Now in each group of 4, you want to have 2 long and 2 short. Okay, so remember how I said we have our 3 meter ones and our 4 meter strands. So what I want you to do is to create 3 bunches of 4, making sure that in each bunch of 4, you have 2 short, see the 2 short ones there, and then the 2 longer ones. Now to create a bunch, I just do just a little knot in them. Doesn't have to be anything special, just something to keep them all together. And then so we have our 3 groups, and we're going to work on 1 group at a time. Okay. So you just need to knot 2 of them up, and then the 3rd one, we're just going to leave. That's the one we're going to work on to start with. If you got any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and just ask a question at the moment while everyone's making their groups of 3. Sorry, 3 groups of 4. My bad. If you want, when you finish that, if you can just write done in the chat, and then we'll keep moving. Thanks, Janine. Oh, good. Okay. Oh, can I show you again? Yeah, I'll do it one more time really quickly. Oh, do you mean the knot, the Priya, do you mean the wrap knot at the top here, or we're just dividing into groups of 3?
Hi.
Oh, yeah. So when you're
Could you show me
dividing,
the knot at the top again? Could you show me that again?
yeah, I'll do the knot at the top one more time, and then I'll go into the dividing. We are recording this as well, so if you get stuck along the way, don't stress. We will have the recordings available on YouTube.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if people are stuck and they just want to watch, they can watch the recording and pause it and then just do it that way. It should be on this afternoon. So that's one other way. If you get lost, then you can just pause the recording.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
No worries. Okay, so we have our short piece, and we are going to put it so there's just a little bit sticking out the top. We're going to hold it with our left thumb. Oops, trying to get it around this way. And make a loop about 5 centimeters or so, and hold both of those ends with our thumb. With the long tail, I'm going to use my right hand and wrap that around all of our other long pieces. So I've got our little tail at the bottom here. We're going to make it firm but not too tight, because we want to be able to pull our knot through at the end. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It doesn't matter how many, as long as you want. Then with our loop, we're going to push our tail through our loop, hold on to the tail, and then pull the top, and our loop will disappear up into the middle underneath, and then we just cut those 2 off. Okay, now this section, what we're going to do is we're going to learn our first knot, and we're going to learn what's called a half square knot. Now this one, if you get lost along the way, don't stress. As I said, we will have the recording available. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to keep going through it so that the recording keeps going, and then it'll be up on YouTube this afternoon. And as I said, I'll also have a link I'll send through to Joanne. So here we have our 4 strings. I'm just going to put those over there so that they're out of the way. How I am going to order these is that I have on the outside, I have my 2 long ones. And on the inside, these 2 in the middle, I'm going to treat them like 1 cord, and they are the short ones. Okay, so this is the basics of every knot that we are about to learn. Now, you can start on either side. I always start on with my left hand, because that's how I learnt it. And so that's how I've always done it. You can start on the right as long as you do the same. You can just mirror it if you wish. So if with your left hand side, what we're going to do is, now am I mirrored for you guys? Does this look like the left hand side for you? Okay, I'm going to try. Let me see if I can do this.
That's the right for us.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to see. This is testing out my ability to not knock my camera over as I do it. Whoop. Okay. Let's see. What we've got here is we've got our outside ones on the long ones on the outside and the short ones on the middle. We are going to do a figure 4 using the left hand side one. With our left thumb, we're going to hold it onto our 2 middle strings, chords. Ooh, my camera is going to fall if I'm not careful. Okay. This is not going to work. Maybe it will. Okay. So you're creating a figure 4. So you go across in front of the 2 in the middle. Then you take that same chord behind. So can you see that? So it's kind of like a weaving in front and then behind. Then what we're going to do is we're going to hold that one there with our thumb. The one that was on the right hand side, so not this one over here, the one that was on the right hand side, we're going to take behind the middle 2 and bring it out through the front of our figure 4. Okay, so what it actually looks like is it's a knot that is wrapped around these 2 middle strands. Okay, and then we're just going to pull each side equally so that it goes up to the top. Now we're going to do this again and again. So I'm going to show you one more time. Here we go. We got our figure 4 in front of our 2 middle chords. Take that same chord behind the one that's hanging out down on the right, and this one that's hanging on the right, it's going to go behind the middle chords and back out through the front. Okay, and then we're going to pull it up just gently on each side. When we're pulling it up, we're doing it gently on each side so that up here it's even. Now we're going to continue to do that same movement over and over until you have about 12. Now, as we do this, if you can see, it starts to spiral. That's what it's supposed to do, okay? So we just keep going in front, creating our figure 4 and behind. The one that was on the right, so the one that's hanging straight down here, goes behind the middle 2 and back through the loop in front. And can you see that, how that's starting to spiral now? And so this creates these beautiful spirals that we see in macrame. So it's quite a simple knot to get, and once you get the hang of it, you can make really beautiful spirals. Okay, and as it spirals around, it's okay to flip it over and start on the left again. Now the biggest, I'm going to show you, I'm not going to show you, I'm going to tell you, the biggest mistake that people make when we're doing this knot is when we have this one coming across here, we don't take this one back over to the same side. We always take the one that's just hanging down. Okay, so you've gone in front and then behind. When we take the one back over, it's this one that's just dangling down. It comes behind of them all and pushes out through the front, that gap that we just created. And then we just pull it up. If you see that one side of your knot is big, pull the opposite cord. Okay, so if I have a big loop, I'm just going to do this one again. If I have a big loop on one side over here, for example, I have to pull this one and that will pull it tight. Okay, so this is your time now to keep practicing this knot, and you want about 10. Now, how do we count our knots? When they're created, it looks like a bit like a ladder, like a spiral ladder. And when you look at there's a horizontal piece, and you can use that as a counter. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 horizontal bars there. So I've done 9 knots. So I'm going to do a couple more, and then that's this one done. And we're going to do the same thing for each of our 3 groups. Okay. So start knotting away. Feel free to put some questions in the chat if you have any questions. I'll keep demonstrating. I'll stand behind the camera so you guys can see it around the right way. And yeah, if you have any questions though, feel free to put them in the chat, and yeah, go for it. Had a friendly spider that decided to join our class with me right then. So I've got my 2 long ones on the outside. Create that figure 4 from the front, going around the back, taking the one that used to be on the right hand side, behind and out through that figure 4. When you're tightening your knots, you have a lot of leeway here. So if you decide you want a looser spiral, then you don't have to tighten them up so much. So you can make it a longer, looser spiral if you wish, or a short, tight spiral. The tighter you do your knots, the faster or the quicker the spiral will go. Six. So I'm doing 12 in each of my spirals. It's up to you if you want to do 6 or 10 or whatever number you prefer. Oh, maybe I did one extra here. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I did 13 in that one. So I'll do 13 in this one too. Okay. Now, at some point also, what you might find is that it is easier to work if you flip the ring over. So I've got these two here that I've just worked on. So I'm just going to flip it over completely. And then I've got my group that I'm working on closest to me again. Just remember when you're grabbing that new group, make sure your long ones are on the outside again and that your two short ones are on the middle. If we don't do that, what's going to happen is when we get towards the end, we're going to have one of the cords that runs out of length. We won't be able to finish off our hanger at the bottom. So I've got my two cords on the outside. And I'm just doing the same figure 4 again, in front and then behind, and then grabbing that one that was on the right hand side to go behind the two middle cords and out the front of the figure 4. If this helps, just a different way to look at this, you know the first part of tying your shoelace where you cross them over? This is exactly the same movement as that. It's just that we have these cords in between. Okay, so if that helps you at all, some people find that just a different way of thinking about it. That's all it is. Go 3. Figure 4 in front, take that same cord behind the one on the right, and then be around the back and through the front of the figure 4. Okay. Now, how are people going? I don't expect you to be quite finished yet. I'd love to know if you're on your first, your second, or your third grouping. Just let me know in the chat, put 1, 2, or 3. And then when we've got quite a few of you through with your 3 groupings, then we'll keep moving on. One of the things about doing these spirals here is you can see that it now moves our cords out just slightly. So that it helps just to separate them for when it looks a bit more spacious in the pot when we put our pot in at the bottom too. Now, just while we're waiting, if you're almost done, I just wanted to show you an example of what the finished product looks like. Now this one has a cactus in it, so I'm just going to hold it a little bit further away from me. What I've done here are some longer spirals. So these ones are about 20 or 30 knots, I think those were. Then I've put a decorative ladder here of square knots. There's no function for those ones. And then down here, we're going to do some square knots, and square knots, you can see those, which holds the pot. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing today. And this one, we're not going to be doing this today, but basically this one is what you can do. You can do anything in the middle of this length here. You can choose out, you could make these little spirals if you wanted to. It's just another decorative feature. You can put, if you get some beads, you can actually put beading in there as well. I can show a couple more examples at the end. But I just want to show you a quick demonstration or illustration of what we are aiming for today. Okay, we're just having a look. Oh, thank you for the comments. Excellent. That awesome. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep going. If you guys are ready and you would like to do we're going to do ladders now. Okay, and so that is a series of square knots. So see how these ones spiral? That is a half square knot. If you do a full square knot, we get a flat version of this. And to do that, this is where we take a little bit of brain power. We do exactly the same thing, except instead of always starting from the left, we start from the left and then we reverse it and start from the right, and then the left and then the right. Now, if you get it right, you'll get flat. If you do two at once, you'll get a ladder with a little bit of a twist every now and then. Okay, so it is up to your creative space. If you want, if you just want to do some spirals, that's fine. The flat ones sit nicely on the pot. So what I'm going to do, I will actually do a very short ladder like I showed you in the middle. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down a bit lower on our groups. And what we're going to do is remember, you've only got a limited amount of cord, okay? So we don't want to come down so far that we don't have enough to finish it off and be able to hang our pot. So we're just coming down about 15 to 20 centimeters, okay? So, I don't know, palm size, a bit longer than your palm, depending on how big your hands are, obviously. But yeah, coming down away about 15, 20 centimeters. So we're going to start with, actually I'll start with this one that you guys can see in the middle, in the front. So we are going to start with the same as what we just did. We're going to make our figure 4 across in the front, and we take this one around, back and behind. Okay. Oh, just knocked the camera. Sorry. Camera is not very stable at the moment, sorry. Okay, so we've done that. That's just as usual. Now, instead of pulling it right up to the top, all we want to do is make sure that these two are even. Okay, so you might have to give a little tweak on this side if this one's looking a little bit like a loop, and a little bit on this side if this is looking like a loop. If the middle two are looking loopy, you can just pull this knot up or down to make it nice and flat. Okay, and you will, with the weight of the pot, it does give you a little bit of leeway, right? Then instead of starting from the left again, we're going to start from the right, and we're going to go same thing. We're going to make backwards 4, cross, hold this one out to the side, and then bring this one that's just hanging down through on the right hand side. And we're going to hold on to these middle two, and we're going to very gently pull that up until it's tight. Now, if you pull it too tight, too quickly, you'll get unevenness on these sides. So we just got to be really gentle with this one with the first one. Now that is 1 square knot. Now, can you see that? It looks like a bit of a square. Okay. And so that's going to be nice and flat. Once we've done 1, I'm going to do 2 more. You can choose to do 1, to do 2, to do 3. It is up to you. This is just that little decorative piece that we're going to be doing. Okay, so next, same thing again. Figure 4 in front and then behind. The one that's hanging down, this one that's just dangling down here, taking it up behind the 2 middle ones, out through the front of the 4, just like we've done for our half square knot. Pulling it up to the top and then doing the same thing from the right hand side. Cross in front and behind, the one that's hanging down, behind and through the loop. Okay. And then you'll see we have these bars that go across. And so we've got a square knot has 2 of these horizontal bars. So that's 1 square knot, 2 square knots right there. So I'm going to do 1 more. You guys can do as many as you like. If you just want to do 1 or 2, you can even skip this step if you're still working on your spirals, that's okay. And then when you're doing your other groups, so I've done 1 group here. When I'm doing this group, what I need to make sure is that they're approximately the same height. Okay, so if they get, I'll do this one quickly before I finish the other one. So we've got our, we've got our square knot here. Now, if I bring it up too high, for example, let's make it obviously quite a bit higher. What I can do then is just gently pull these 2 side bits here. Just pull them out and pull the knot down. So just really gently pull it out a little bit, pull it down to bring it up. So if I've done it too low, all I need to do is just gently tug on each side until it's at the right height. Okay. Now, the other thing you just want to make sure is these middle ones don't twist over too much too. Okay, so that's a bit low still. So I'm just going to give a gentle pull on each side. That looks about right. Pretty happy with that. And so now I'm going to do my second knot. And again, I'm going to be gentle with this one so that I don't accidentally pull it up too high. And then just compare, and I'm pretty happy with this. Now also remember, this is your piece of artwork. It doesn't have to be, even if you want to have these staggered, that's fine. You could make it like a 1, 2, 3 and have them staggered. That's cool. It's up to you. These are the basic knots. You can do so much with it once you've learnt the basics. Okay, so just creating then your 3. Oh, sorry, was that a call? No. Okay. Creating your 3 groups. So I'm going to do 3 groups of 3 square knots. Again, it's up to you. Again, if you want to do this section, or if you would like to just leave it blank, if you're still working on your spirals, or if you want to do it 1, 2, 3, up to you. As you're working, remember, start with the left and then start with the right. Start with the left. And then the right. Now, if you have figured out, you're like, oh, I did the wrong one. So we've done the wrong one and we want to undo that knot. This bar across the middle, just pull it. And then you'll be able to undo your knot really easily that way. Just pull that bar in the middle and it will come undone nice and easily and you can have another go. Okay, put my 2 there. And so again, I'm just going to flip my ring around and work on my 3rd group here. knots first. Go. Started with the left, so now I'm doing the right. Figure 4, make sure it goes in front then behind, and the second one goes behind and out in front. And the right hand side, in front and behind, keep going out to the side, the one that's just hanging down, behind and in front. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to either finish your spirals or do your decorative bit, and then we're going to work on the top of the pot. I put it back. I'm just going to go grab it and I'll show you what we're up to. Okay, so this is a different one. So what I've actually done in that section, instead of doing flat ladders, I've done some little spirals. This was actually one of the first ones I did many years ago. I had 4 groups, and what I found with 4 groups though was it kind of hid the plant a little bit more. So 3 groups was 1 more just as sturdy, and 2 meant that we can see our beautiful plants a little bit better. Down the bottom here, so this is what we're about to work on. So we're going to do these little ladders here, and then we're actually going to regroup them and do some more ladders here that they're going to hold make that circle to hold our pot in place before we do our big knot at the bottom. So you guys are halfway through making it your hanger at the moment. Okay, any questions in the chat? We're all good. Okay, I'm going to keep going. We're going to move our camera down again. Okay, so cables caught everywhere. Okay, so we've got our 3 decorative bits here. We're going to go down about the same amount again, ish. As I said, I don't measure most of this. I do it by feel, noting that we want to make sure we have enough cord. Okay, when we're doing knots, we use about 4 times as much cord as the length that's there. So you do need to make sure you have a good amount of cord, and it is very, very tricky to add cord in at the end if you get a bit stuck. So make sure it's better to have a little bit too much than a little bit too little. Okay, so we're going to go down, same amount again, and we're going to do 2 square knots. So in this group, I've done 3, which means I have 6 little bits that go across. We're just going to have 2 square knots this time. Okay, so cross our 4 and behind, and then behind and back in front. Okay, making sure it's nice and even. And then we're doing the same thing from the right hand side. And back. So there's 1 square knot. And then we're going to do a second one. So here we have our decorative bit, and this is the bit we're actually going to be using in for our pot, the top of the pot. Okay. And I'm actually going to do this one next. That one's nice and close. So again, we want to make sure it's about the same height. So our figure 4, bring it out to the side, making sure this one, that's the one that's just hanging down in front, goes behind and back through the middle. Evening them up. Yep, and then starting on the right hand side, doing the exact same thing. Now we have it. We're going to do one more, starting on the left. And then starting on the right. There we go. And so I'll do my third one. On the left, and then start doing the right. Being nice and gentle when we just do the first one. And we have it, and doing one more square knot. Now I'm going to move through these next couple of steps a little bit quicker. Just noting at the time. There we have all of our next lot. Oops. Just did on the kids' craft stuff. Okay, so now comes the time. Now, if you're still working on these, all good, don't stress. As Deb said, the recording is coming too. What we want to do now this next section depends a little bit on your pot. Now, all your pots, the pots that I've given you are all about the same size, okay? So I've got the white ribbed pot here. If you're using a bigger pot, you're going to need a longer section here. If you're using a smaller pot, you're going to need just a small section, because this is going to make the crisscrosses across our pot, okay? And if we make them too big, our pot will not sit in the right spot. It'll sit down like this, and our knots won't be in the right spot. If we make it too small, our pot won't fit in, okay? So with this size pot, you want about 4 to 5 centimeters, okay, down from your knots. And what we're going to do is we are going to grab, just notice, can you see that there's a twist there? I don't know if you can tell, there's a twist between those two. So I'm going to just, me being me, I'm going to just undo this one in a minute. What we want to do is I want you to make groups of 4 again. And I want you to make them out of groups of 4 of the knots that you want next to each other, okay? So try not to crisscross them over too much. Try and see where they hang, and then grab these 4, these 4, and these 4. So we're making our groups to make that crisscross between the different groups of chords. I'm just going to quickly, what I'm just going to do is undo this just a little bit. I'm going to undo these 2 knots. And then untwist these 2. And just do it back up Okay, so I'm looking at mine. And I'm just going to move, oops. This around there a little bit. Okay, I'm going to move, I'm going to grab, see how mine's hanging like this. So the ones that make sense to grab together are those four. Are these four here in the front? Just do a little knot. These four here. And then these four over on this side. So when you actually, if you tried to pull these apart now, can you see that they don't actually fall apart? They form like a nice circle rather than actually three separate groups. So that's what we want to do now. The other thing you should notice is your tails should almost be all the same length now. Okay, remember how we had some long ones and some short ones? They may not be all even, but they won't be like hugely long and hugely short anymore. Okay, so they'll all be similar in length. Now I am going to have a fair chunk of a tail here when we're finished. That's okay. You can, with the tail, you can do all sorts of things. You can just leave it as is. You can fluff it out. You can put little knots in it. It's all up to you. Or you can just chop it off. So depending on how you want, or you can make it like layers that have some short, some long, up to you. So what we're going to do now is we're making this circle for our pot to sit in. So you're going to grab one of your groups and we are going to create a ladder with, okay, can you see? It's going to be a little bit tricky because of this one is in the back. We want to make it so that the outside ones are now the inside ones and the inside ones are now the outside ones, okay? So we have a look, just got to try and put these over to the side, so it's a bit tricky. So here we have these two next to each other. It's got to do that. Lots of cords going everywhere. So these are the outside ones. They are now going to come into the middle. We're going to pretend they're one cord like we did with the other two middle ones. And these two middle ones that have just been literally hanging there and falling through the middle, these are the two over here we're now going to work with. Okay, so we've got the two in the middle that used to be the outside ones, and the two on the inside that haven't been used to knot anything are now the ones we're working with. And we're just going to go down, and I'm sorry that this looks, I can't get rid of these ones now anymore because we've joined them all together. So we're just going to come down about 5 centimeters or so, and we're doing our same knot that we learnt at the start. So we're doing a half square knot and creating it in, making it into a square knot then by doing the right hand side as well. Okay. Just pulling those middle ones so everything's about the same tension. And then we have our square knot there coming from 2 different places. Can you see that? So we've just joined them together. So in the end, we're going to have a nice circle, right? So here, I'm going to do about 6 square knots. Now, it doesn't matter how many square knots you do here, as long as you do 1 or 2. So one will then make it like, this will be like a dot in the middle of your pot, or you can do a line. It's up to you. Again, your artistic preference. So I'm just going to do a couple more here. I'll let you keep working on your knots. Okay, I just want to show you this. I don't know if you can see that properly. I was doing square knots, right? So I have my nice ladder, nice ladder, nice ladder. And then at the bottom, it starts to turn. Can you see that? That's what happens if you do 2 lefts or 2 rights, one after each other. So don't stress. Again, just pull that bar at the front and that knot's gone, we can start again. Okay, so I'm just going to do 8 half knots, which makes 4 square knots there. Then I'm going to move on to my next grouping. So again, when you come here, remember your outside ones become your inside, and your inside become your outside ones. And do 4 more square knots. So that's 1 square knot right there. See that? It's 1 square knot. Two. 3. Okay, so we've got our 2 lots of 4 there now. And if I start to open this out, you can see that they are connected. Now I'm just looking at that, and for my pot, I'm looking at that and going, I think I may have done it a little bit low. No, it'll be okay. It's on the very low side, but that's all good. Okay. And the last one make sure your outside ones are now your inside and vice versa. So it's 2 square knots. Two and a half. Now, when you are doing macrame, make sure, little posture thing, make sure that your shoulders aren't going up, that you're always relaxing them. You get a little bit tense if you're doing the same thing over and over. And give your fingers a stretch if you haven't already. Yeah, you're using the same muscles over and over, and there's some muscles that you don't use very much for other things. So just be aware. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there we have our 3 groups, our 3 ladders. Oh, that way. I'm showing me. There's our 3 ladders. Okay, so this is the last step. Okay, the last step that we're going to do. This is fitting our pot in. Okay, now this is just if you were doing this one chord, you'd be able to do it no problem. It's just an easy, what they call an overhand knot, but it's where you make a loop and stick everything through, right? You know, just a normal knot. Okay, that's what we're going to do at the bottom. When we have 12 strands, it can be a little bit tricky to get them all in the right spot. Now we want to do this knot. Eventually we want to get it nice and high near these knots. But what I do anyway is with my left arm, I put the ropes in front of it. So I'm going to just put this down a little bit lower so you can see. Okay. So I put my wrists, the ropes on my wrist. I have all of these tails and I put them on the side towards my elbow, okay, away from my hand. Okay, so I've wrapped my arm up in all the cords. Then I grab all the cords with my hand and pull them all through. Okay, and then you've got some leeway here with making it tighter up, like up higher, sorry, or down lower, depending on if you push up from the bottom or if you pull down from the top. Now I'm just going to leave it loose for the moment. So I can see where I want to actually put my pot in. Okay, so I'm going to put my pot in. Now note, if your knot is loose, there is the possibility that you can drop your pot, so be very careful. Okay, so we're going to fit our pot in. And then we want to note how high, sorry, there we go. But now put it down a little bit low. So what I'm looking for here is I would like these to be the top of my pot. Okay, so I don't want my pot down, even down that low would be fine, I think. We just work out what looks good for you, and then adjust your knot. Okay, so it's all good now, it's sitting there now. Adjust your knot and pull it either up higher or push it down lower, depending on where you want your pot to sit. Okay, so we have our pot sitting in here now, and we're pretty much done. Okay, can you see that? The last thing that we're going to do, we're just going to take our pot out for a minute. Now, if you have a look at this knot, there's some that are a bit loose, some that are a bit tighter. So I'm just going to tighten everything. And then what I do is individually, so I have them in my hand, I individually pull each one. Oh, that one had a lot of slack in it. That one didn't have any. That one had a lot. And what this does is just, oh, that one had a bit. That one had a lot. What it does is just tightens this knot and makes everything look just that bit neater. So now it looks like a nice, there's a couple more that I could pull through, a little bit more there. But just pulling each of those individually tightens that knot at the bottom and gives it that nice rounded look, rather than all being all scattered. And once that's done, then we can put our pot inside. Find a pretty plant. I love, I'm a huge fan of chain of hearts and string of pearls and string of bananas, all of those ones, or something that's like got some bright color like a petunia, all sorts of things. Grab something, and as you can see, I love my cacti as well. And we're done. And as you can see, we've got this tail here. So this is a pretty long tail. I'll probably just chop it off. I won't chop them all at the same. I'll do like a little bit of a layered look so that they don't all just like, it doesn't look like someone's just chopped it all off at once. You can also fray these cords. See how they're a little bit frayed at the end already? You can actually unravel them the whole way and make it look a bit bushier. That's another option. Or you can just leave them as is, or put some beads in it, put a bead over and put it just a little, if you put, you have to find beads with quite large holes in them, but put a bead on and then just do just do a little knot underneath the bead so it doesn't fall off. Lots of options there, up to you. But does anyone have any questions?